Exactly 6 days to go till Zambia holds its general elections. At this moment in time, it would be safe to say that the electorate has decided who exactly they would like to see in that top office. But ultimately, the verdict lies in the hands of the electorate. Welcome to another exciting episode of The Verdict right here on Camnet TV, not just another channel. To help me discuss matters relating to the upcoming general elections, I have with me two guests. My name is Liseli Kanyanga Mubanga, and joining me in the studio is Miss MWAMBA from the Jesuit Center for Theological Reflection, and also Mr. George CHIMEMBE from the Foundation for Democratic Process, FODEP. Good evening and welcome to The Verdict.
Good evening, Liseli.
It's good to have you on the program. I'm looking forward to dissecting and really finding out the topic of discussion that we have today, which is, do women and youths actively participate in the electoral process? Quite general, quite diverse topic we have here. But first things first, I want to just get right into it by asking perhaps Ms. MWAMBA, why should women and youths be concerned to vote on the 12th of August?
Okay, first and foremost, voting is everyone's human rights right, and I think it's a civic right. Both the women, youths, including men. We can't just say women and youths, but we also have to include men. So I think it's a civic right for every one of us.
Mr. CHIMEMBE?
Yeah, she is very correct. It's actually a duty that we need to, to participate in elections, to vote, but also at two levels. It's according to Article 46 of the Republican Constitution. We have that franchise. When somebody attains 18 years of age and is Zambian or she is Zambian, they are supposed to, participate. Either as a voter, they can vote, but also they can, contest. Yeah, so that's how it is. It's constitutional, it's a democratic right, and it's also a duty on the part of everybody who is 18 and above.
Speaking of the youth, the population of Zambia comprises of a younger generation, but I know there are some youths who perhaps think that issues to do with politics, issues to do with voting don't relate to them in any way. What are the effects of voter apathy, especially when it comes to the youth?
You want to take it as a youth?
Well, you can go first. Then I'll defend it as a youth.
Voter apathy is actually staying away from voting, because of certain factors. You don't exercise your fundamental and democratic right, to vote. You stay away, You could either be a registered voter and you have a card, but because of certain circumstances, you stay away. You may not have registered. That also is part of a voter apathy, where you just say that I don't want even to have anything to do with voter registration, so I'm going to stay away from it. But it has consequences. One of it is that, look, it has potential to undermine the credibility of elections. For instance, 3/4 of people don't vote, and that is a crisis. For elections, because you want to have, let's say, if it's presidential, it's majoritarian, isn't it? It's majoritarian, and they'll look at the more than 50%. Yes. So you have that voter apathy. First of all, even the way you look at the leaders who are elected, there's no legitimacy, or the legitimacy is feeble, it's weak, You remember we had some president Okay, let me not go into that.
Okay, I think maybe just...
Maybe perhaps
But
for you, Ms. Mwamba. Please,
yeah,
finish your thought.
The idea is the legitimacy is questioned,
Yes.
you know, by the citizens, you know. And so you want to have some majority of people turn out to vote, you know. That way, first of all, there's credibility of the electoral process,
Yes.
the elections themselves, but also the leaders that are put in those positions who command respect and legitimacy, you know. Yeah, I think she will add.
You can add, but I had a specific question for you,
For her.
especially that she is a youth.
Okay.
Okay, let me then finish what
Please
I thought
finish.
that's, yeah. Yeah, but then you also deny yourself the chance and opportunity to put the right people, according to you,
Yes.
in those positions, you know. And then the other, after that, you will be crying foul, no, you know, these politicians, this leader, you were given an opportunity, you know. You should have participated, beginning by registering, verifying, and then on that actual day, you go and exercise your, you know, your democratic right, so that then you won't have anybody to blame. It was your choice, you know, and it was your secret. That's how it's supposed to be.
Now that we have known some of the effects of voter apathy, especially when it comes to the young people, as a youth, what do you think are some of the causes why someone would shun from actually taking part in the voting process?
Okay, thank you so much, Leslie. I think even before I go to that question, I think just to add on what Mr. Chimembe has said, I feel the impact is more for the youth. We are the youth of today. And as the saying goes, we are the ones who hold the future for tomorrow.
Yes.
Imitikula Impanga, like the Bemba saying goes. So if we don't decide on who we want to govern us, then we're actually shooting ourselves in the foot. So as youths, we need to ensure that we take part in this election and electoral process and everything, participate fully. So the other thing is, the other impact or effect it can have, it will have an effect actually on the socio-economic development of the country. Why do I say so? When you talk about voter apathy, in an event that we don't meet the 50+1, that means that it will call for a rerun.
Exactly.
So that will have an impact again. So meaning we are looking at costs now. So it will be like double the cost. So when that money would have been dropped maybe to other developmental issues that could be work best for our economy. So just that, I think some of the things that are causing, to answer your question now, some of the things that are causing the youths not to participate fully, maybe the current political violence that is going on. So youths feel that they can shine. It's not everyone who's aggressive or who wants to be found in places that are messy. Political violence actually has a very negative impact on the development of the country. So I think certain youths or women actually wouldn't want to expose themselves to such situation. When we talk about women, no mother would want to leave their house to go and find themselves in a situation that will affect them and which will have a positive impact on their children. So they want to stay safe and ensure that their children are also safe. That's my take.
Okay. Do you think also, this is just my thought, do you think that one of the reasons why a youth would shun away from voting is because they feel they don't have representation in terms of the people that are vying for these positions of office, where I'm able to see this person, but I can't relate. He's not in my age bracket.
Oh, yeah,
so
sure.
I'm like, but I think this is for old people. How are they going to get my grievances or my concerns?
Yeah, having Generation X and the millennials. I think as a youth, that's really one of the things that can affect them. Because some of the aspirations of young people nowadays is to find themselves to participate fully in governance issues. So, but if you don't participate, how are you going to relate? And when you look at the needs of maybe the Generation X and everything and the millennials, they're too different. There's a big gap. There's a big gap. Most of the people will talk about, okay, during the olden days, we would call the old people as the BBC, born before computers. But nowadays, you find that the young people are more exposed. With the introduction of IT and everything, you find them more inquisitive, actually, to find out what's going on, trying to find better ways of doing things using technology, which is not the case for the older generation. So I think that can also affect the way the want to vote and everything.
Yeah, and it also comes to the quality of these leaders. I think youth would want to relate with people that show quality in terms of their leadership. So that one can also, translate into voter apathy, where certain youths will look at the leaders that are contesting, and they will say that, no, not those. I think it's better to stay away. Yeah.
Are there specific acts in the law that help guard this vote from the voter?
What do you mean?
Are there laws that help protect the vote coming from the voter?
Oh yeah, yes, yeah. Because according to the Electoral Process Act, what I do in the booth remains with me.
Exactly.
Yes. And even if those people that may find challenges in, marking the ballot, they are assisted, either by some relative or friend, because that is allowed under the law, or the presiding officer takes up that task. Maybe somebody's they are visually impaired. They need assistance. When they vote, it should remain secret. Only maybe the presiding officer and maybe some party, those the polling agents who could be there, the witness, but it shouldn't be divulged. Yeah. So the law actually protects. It's legal, and somebody who, like a presiding officer, who divulges how somebody voted, that could be a criminal offense, and they can be penalized. Yeah. So the law is there to protect my vote. Yeah. It's my secret. Yeah.
Perhaps you have an addition?
I think he's exhausted most of the things in line with the electoral system and process.
Okay.
Yeah.
Speaking of issues to do with women, I know you mentioned the fact that sometimes it becomes very cumbersome for a woman to want to leave her home and go to a place that has potential of having a situation that can escalate to things that nobody would want to find themselves in. From the time that this campaign started, how has been the participation of women from your insight as CSOs?
Our participation of women. Let's look at it at levels. We look at the parties themselves. Women, they are in there, but then participation is limited. Yeah. I think from our assessment, youths, persons with disabilities, and also women haven't been given that opportunity to fully participate. Yes. The adoption processes did not favor these interest groups. Yes. And then when you move out of the party bracket, you go to the national level, you find that, look, those fees which were exorbitant, they couldn't allow women, to come forth and participate. Yeah. So these are some of the barriers, But also we've seen that political parties were saying that they were also looking at the quality and how this candidate can be able to, to make the party win. So these are some of the issues that were being floated, and so we've seen that we haven't seen so many women participating. Maybe in terms of canvassing for campaign, mobilizing, they are in the forefront, and we may have a reason, maybe because of the levels of poverty here and there, they want to raise something, and so they come forth. But in terms of vying for the positions, this is another thing. And I think as for the, we are not happy and we are not satisfied with the level of participation of women. Of course, at the presidential level, we've seen that we do have some running mates, yeah, who are women, and well, that is progressive, and I think that's in the right direction. But overall, I think the participation of women hasn't been satisfactory.
Is it an issue of the law not providing enough provisions that help spearhead this agenda, or is it an issue to do with implementation, or maybe even political will?
Yeah, you also talk about the gender equity and equality.
Like the gender equity.
Then I'll talk about other things. Yeah.
All right. I think with regards to the law, we actually have Gender Equity and Equality Act of 2015. I think that provides for women to fully participate in all maybe decision making in various aspects, and it provides that they shouldn't be discriminated against political life, different aspects actually that the Gender Act brings about. So I feel it's not necessarily the law, but I feel the law is there. But certain things like parties, when you bring the parties together, I think the issue of people being compelled if they don't use the Gender Equity Act, it's not there. No one is there to compel anyone to say, no, why haven't you done A, B, C, D?
So it's an issue of
implementation, actually, yes. It's a policy issue, yes, but the implementation part is where we are lacking as a country.
And so I can also add that in our constitution, when you look at Article 45 and Clause 1 itself, you find that the electoral system that we have, according to the Constitution, should ensure that there is fair representation of these interest groups, including women. But also specifically, it's under paragraph C, it's paragraph D. There should be gender equity in the National Assembly. Have you seen? Now we get back to what Anne was alluding to, that we do not have the enforcement mechanism. The laws could be there, but they are not enforced. And also there is not much operationalization of the provisions of the Constitution. We also have Article 8, which espouses the national principles, national values. There is something about equality, equity, and also non-discrimination, But these, sometimes they are rhetorical. People just talk about them.
Time immemorial.
Yes.
It's been the song, actually.
Exactly.
Okay.
So maybe moving forward, we need to introduce, and CSOs will begin advocating for what is called the mixed member electoral system. Where we have what we have, the first past the post arrangement, and also the majoritarian for the president. But we also bring in the proportional representation, where we agree that, okay, women should have a quota, This is the number that will be for women in the National Assembly. This is a number for the youth. This is a number for persons with disabilities. Yes. I think we will get, there are certain things that have already begun. The National Lobby Group is doing that, and some other organizations. So we put our heads together after the elections so that we start agitating and advocating for electoral reforms, so that we do have a fair representation of women in the National Assembly and even the youth. Because you see, if these people are not there, who is going to speak for them? In Bemba we say, and you feel it. Who knows it? Who
knows how it feels other than the person that is actually feeling?
Yeah, and if you are not represented there, you've seen several times, even in homes, where parents make decisions on behalf of the children.
Yes.
And sometimes you buy something, and they just say that, oh, no, this is not the thing that I can wear, you see? So we need to be, when you know, okay, the PAF have this motto. We can even say motto, the way they say, without leaving anyone behind. It's a powerful one, but in practice, it's far from what we are seeing. You know, we have left a lot of people behind. Women have been left out. You know, the president has an opportunity to make nominations. Those 8. When you look at those, you find that most of them they are men.
Yes.
Instead of equalizing the numbers using using the nomination, the powers
Just
that
on
he
that
has.
thought,
Yes.
is it because there's nobody that holds anybody accountable that we see such a situation reflecting in our cabinet, and not even only in these top positions, even in organizations?
Yes, yeah. I was even going to Article 259, which actually compels a public officer, when making appointments, that they should look at issues of equity.
Equity, yeah.
They should look at issues of,
Gender.
you know, the youth, people with disability. They are there, but they have not been operationalized. And also the issue of holding them to account, you know. You see, the problem that we have in Zambia is when we want to speak about something and we want to hold our leaders accountable, then we become a nuisance. Have you seen? We become outcasts, you know, and no one wants to listen to us. And in the end, you are labeled, you see? And that's not the way it's supposed to be. The people the governors must be held accountable by those that are governed. That is democracy. That's how we participate in the process, in this democratic dispensation. But those avenues for holding people to account, like you want to demonstrate, they will arrest you. And yet that is a right, you know, to demonstrate, because then you are bringing out your feelings and you are trying to send a message to the leaders that this is wrong, we need to do this. That's why in progressive you know, democracies, they demonstrate, you know. They hold their leaders to account. And most of the time, this is why they are doing well, actually. Economically, it translates to policies, you know, which are sound and which bring vitality to the nation. Yeah.
I know. Please go ahead.
Actually, some of the tenets of good governance, one of the key ones is transparency and accountability. So if we don't exercise that, then what are we doing as a nation? So these are some of the things we need to ensure that we take interest in, and ensure that everyone is following certain things. And as leaders, we need to spearhead certain agendas. Like you need to demonstrate as a leader to say you need transparency by showing it. What you do actually, actions speak louder than your words. So the way you act should actually demonstrate that you are speaking to the tenets of good governance.
Does culture have anything to do with it, or are we past it?
No, there are some ripple effects. Some of those cultural barriers still hang on, even to date.
Where someone just says, there's no way I am going to be rude or led by a woman.
Yeah, I think those stereotype attitudes, I think they are still persisting.
Yeah, they're still
and
there.
we need to get over that, you know? We need to accept that if I'm a man, I can have my boss who is a female, you know? And I should be loyal to that and obedient. I think this is supposed to be, even in marriages, for me, it's partnership, you know? There's nothing like, okay, this one, and this one should be the tail. No, you know.
I like the term that you have used, the tail.
It should be, I think even the Bible, when they say that he took
The rib.
It's side by side, isn't it?
Yeah.
Symbolically, it is side by side where we move.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on, issues to do with electoral violence have been dominant, I think, in this campaign period for the 2021 general elections. how safe are we? How safe are women? How safe are even men and children going to turn out and vote on the 12th of August?
You know, we are under very, very threatening conditions. And this is one thing that I think Anne alluded to when she said, when she spoke about the factors that, you know, that bring about voter apathy, you know. Because women, you see, are vulnerable. Youths are also vulnerable. People with disabilities, you know, where's for them? You know, is on a wheelchair, he can't even run, you know. And then they are tear gassed. They are tear gassed. These youths are coming after them, you know, and there's a stampede, you know, and they'll be killed, you know. This is what we are talking about, and this is a danger that we have of this violence which is there, you know. I think we had an opportunity to deal with, you know, electoral violence. For us at FODEP, we put the blame on the authorities. Because look, a good thing was done. There was a commission of inquiry into the voting patterns and also electoral violence. What a wonderful report which ensued from that process, because it brought out a number of issues, you know, and also made recommendations. Yeah. But then we had the authorities which saw the report, saw that certain things were pointing inwards. And so they said, this one should wait. And yet for us, when we study that report, we see that a lot of this, we are witnessing now, could have not even happened. There could have been some early warning mechanisms, you know, put in place, more interaction amongst the political parties, even at all levels, not where we just sign the peace accord and then it doesn't translate down there. So we really have a serious issue to deal with, and I think for we support the deployment of the armed forces on the streets, not to scare anybody, but to bring sanity to the electoral process. And for us, we look forward to seeing those soldiers, even in the polling stations, around the polling stations, to protect us, to protect women, to protect the youth, to protect the persons with disabilities. We are happy about that, you know, because we think that the police have disappointed us. They haven't done much. ECZ hasn't done much, you know. Look at the escalation of violence where even people, innocent lives are lost now, you know. So this is where we are.
Ms. Anne?
Well, I think we are not safe. There's so much fear around. And speaking as a youth, I feel political parties, this whole electoral process and everything, we're not supposed, I think we should respect each other's opinions. It doesn't mean that if you are in this regalia, you can't speak to this one. Political parties should learn to coexist. And I think that's political maturity to some extent, if you can call it that. The moment we're going to reach that stage as a country, these are some of the aspirations, I'm speaking as a youth, that we want to see. A country where politicians coexist. There's no need, I don't mind whichever party my friend or my neighbor belongs to. I have to respect their opinion. I have to respect their ideology. We need to coexist in as much as, I think when political parties coexist, the issue of violence will be a thing of the past. And as Mr. Chimembe said, it has to start with leaders. So leaders have to take the role in, condemning political violence. So if leaders are going to condemn political violence, they need to roll down up to the last person in that political party. So even me as a youth, I'll know that it's my civic right. Why should I start fighting, or why should I start throwing stones at innocent people? It doesn't work that way. So once we encourage political coexistence, I think it's going to really help us as a country. Because right now, it's full of fear. No one is allowed, no one is actually free to move with the regalia. Imagine you find a PF person in green. The moment they see the Reds or they see another political party, it's something else. You know that maybe there'll be tear gas, they'll be throwing stones at each other and all that. So that brings fear all around, not only to the youths and women, but to everyone. Everyone wants to be safe. everyone wants to be, you know, like in a place where they feel accepted. So as a country, let's not take for granted the peace that we've been having from the time, looking at the One Zambia, One Nation, looking at our forefathers, how Kaunda and the other freedom fighters fought for this freedom that we're experiencing today. I think this is something that because if we continue like this, you know, political violence is what has cost many countries today, those countries that have ended up having civil wars. The issue of tribal speech, all these things, like, they're the things that bring all the negative effects and everything. This does not only affect the environment. Once the political is unstable, even the socio-economic development is affected. Young people will not have jobs because no investors will come and invest in a country that is politically unstable. So I think these are some of the things we need to look out to as youths and the entire citizenry. Thank you.
There are only 6 days to go till we actually vote on the 12th of August. Do you think in this short period of time, we still have hope, we still have a chance to rewrite what seems to have become the narrative of political violence?
Yeah, we shouldn't give up on the efforts, you know, to bring sanity to the electoral process. I think we should soldier on, and whatever we can do in order to sensitize people, reaching out to the cadres, as Anna said, the leaders, you know, they can send the message, you know. But what we have, there's a perception that these leaders are happy when they see those people fight, you know, and they actually sponsor them. They give them money, they make them drunk, you know, and then they resort to violence. And sometimes they want the opposing part to be frustrated, you know, their campaigns to be frustrated, you know, so that there is no visibility of the other part. And that is wrong. It's not supposed to be. So we need to intensify our message. Platforms like the one that we have, reaching out to, you know, the youth, the cadres, that look, there is life after elections. Does it mean that after 12, surely, there will be no Zambia? We've always been saying that, look, what is at stake is actually not elections. It is our Zambia, which we must preserve, you know, so that after the poll day, we still have Zambia, you know, to live in, where we are not scampering in all directions. So there's an issue. So for me, we still can make a difference in the short time that is remaining.
Ms. Mwamba, do we have hope?
Yeah, we do have hope. Actually, we are Zambians. We're Zambians first before we can belong to any political party.
Exactly.
So we need to uphold that. People change political parties, but you can, yeah, I know you can change citizenship, but I mean, you're Zambian. So
even political parties, people change.
Yes.
We saw recently people moving from
one
there to
to
there.
the other.
You know? So why should we fight?
Why should we fight
You know?
each other?
Because you can freely switch camps.
Exactly.
You go that side. You know?
So, but we need to protect this unity and peace that we have as a country, as Zambia, the freedom that our forefathers fought for. Yes.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, what kind of a message are we sending ahead of the polls when we compile everything, especially from the time that the campaigns were opened on the 12th of May?
Well, it can be categorized from our perspective, maybe two. One message of hope, but the other message has been hopelessness, you know, despair, brought about by, you know, some of the electoral malpractices that we have witnessed. You know, I think this level of desperation should not be allowed in future. And for us, we want to seriously interrogate our electoral laws. You know, for instance, during elections, we need to speak to what the executive can do, you know, and what there's need to limit the powers. Of the president, because he is also a presidential
candidate.
So if he does certain things as we are seeing, you know, then we have a problem because there's no level playing field, you know. Have you seen? And there are so many things. Okay. So we do have all these dishing out of monies and all that, donations and all that. Chiefs, the traditional leaders have been politicized, you know. It doesn't send a good message, you know. Who else? Look at, okay, then there's the COVID aspect. COVID also brought despair. Yeah, but on the other hand, we do have hope that people will turn out. One, there was massive registration of voters. I think the targets that were projected, we almost are there. We have the Electoral Commission of Zambia, our referee, and we think that they will remain non-partisan and neutral and deliver credible, free and fair elections. The ballot papers are now being distributed. There are some hiccups here and there, but I think we are generally confident that come that day, somebody will be able to wake up and go and queue and go inside and find the name there and also be given those 4 ballot papers, orange, red, black and purple, and they will correctly do that and they will cast. And on that day, you know, the results will be known. Yeah.
Your contribution towards that, what message are we sending ahead of the polls?
Okay. As Mr. Chimembe has mentioned, I think we are hoping for a free, fair, and credible election. I know determining whether an election is credible is not only on the 12th, it's actually the entire electoral process. So there can be hiccups here and there, but we only hope for the best.
Mr. Chimembe, you raised quite pertinent issues regarding the Public Order Act, regarding the powers of the president. This issue also has been a song that has been sung from time immemorial. But why don't we see, even when given an opportunity to amend the constitution, these issues are brought forward, but we don't see any change? Why is it so?
There was a president who summed up how it feels when you are there. I didn't know power is sweet. Power is sweet, actually, you know, and it corrupts and, you know, it corrupts. Absolutely. So once you are there and you look at, you can give an example of even our late, may he so rest in peace, the late president of the PF. When he was in opposition, he condemned. And at some point at Kamwara, Lubama Market there, he was tear gassed, you know, and he cried foul, this and that. When he assumed power, the first statement on the Public Order Act was to say that this is good law. We need to maintain it. I don't know whether you remember that one. You see?
Those
clearly. And yet, when he was on the other side, he was condemning the same law. So when you are that side, you know, the problem is, then you look at, so why should I change it? It was used against me, and I can use it against other people, you know? So we don't have that neutral approach to lawmaking. There are these various interest groups, you know, and so you think that if we take out that, for instance, can a sitting president allow the reforms to touch their powers? They can't. Have you seen? Because they want to be in control. Why are we not doing well in terms of the decentralization policy? It's because power is sweet. You want to hold on to power so that then you can manipulate all these others. You know, so that's why we can't.
Issues to do with political intolerance, I think, in my opinion, are one of the issues that have brought about all this tension, all this conflict between political parties. Where are we in this regard, in terms of intolerance? Why is this the case?
So I think, as I mentioned earlier, in terms of being politically coexisting, I think with intolerance, I think we're not having that. So like if we're not politically coexisting, then we're not even being tolerant at all.
Yeah.
So all these things will continue until we reach that stage as a country where we're going to politically coexist.
Yeah.
That's when we're going to work on our tolerance issues.
Is it because maybe we're a young democracy? We
Yeah,
still have a long way to go. We're just learning with a few hurdles along the way?
Yes, it's true, especially the Third Republic. We are just we are toddlers politically. But look, there are so many factors that impact on coexistence within the sphere of politics. First of all, what we've been seeing are tribal politics. You know, they were tribal politics. Of course, now we are
shedding
it off.
Trying to shed it off.
Trying to shed it off.
Yes.
But if that one, there's still some traces of tribal politics. And even within the PF, when you take the northern bloc and eastern, and you say this is a stronghold and no one should come here, those are tribal politics. Have you seen? Those are tribal politics, you know. Then there is also the factor of poverty, you know, and household hunger, you know. And so people who have found, you know, some loopholes, they have some connections to those that are in the corridors of power. You think they want to give up? They can't, you know. So this is the desperation we are seeing in our politics. And it brings in political patronage. Even these traditional leaders who are singing songs supporting this and that, you know, it's because they have received, you know, they have benefited, you know, and so they want to hold on to those benefits. They will be flowing because let's sustain the status quo. Then maybe, look, there's a very, I don't want to use the word silly, but it's a silly narrative going around the social cash transfer, where they are saying that if there's a change of government, this will be stopped. That's a government program. Have you seen? Even during Kaunda had even coupons, meal coupons. You've heard of that?
Yes.
He was giving. That was a form of a social cash transfer to help the vulnerable. So it has been there from time immemorial. But people would be campaigning and say, if you don't put this and that, you know, and, you know, then we also have, you know, politics of patronage, you know. And this is a danger to our democracy and our society. Because if you are a leader, they say you are my leader, and you are in the wrong, I can't correct you for fear of being tossed out. Have you seen? And look, we don't even have intra-party democracy. That one, we have deficiencies in that democracy at party level. Then, so you do have the syndrome of sole candidate. Because if somebody pops up and he wants to challenge you, you are not going to allow. And then everybody will be against you until they will hunt you out of the party, you know. These are things that are actually distorting our democracy. And until we sort out some of these areas, and there are many, but there's no time to go into them one by one.
So in short, what you're saying is that what needs to change is from the grassroots going upwards so that we see that being reflected even in our leadership.
You know, one of the things that happens in bus stops, there's a lot of money there.
Of course.
I have heard that cadres will just bring the money on the table. They don't count the money. And it's on a daily basis. They will just say that this money will go to that structure, this money, that structure, this money, that structure, that money. The rest, they will say, let's pick now. Without counting, if you have 100 there, you are lucky that day. So you pick.
Maybe we should become cadres, eh?
So you think, that's the desperation. That's the desperation. We can't give up. But also those that are connected, they have connections, they are benefiting. They will say that, no, Mdala, you have to be, You are the one. You are anointed by God, you know. And so that is the thing. Maybe Anne can also.
I think the other thing is we have a problem to some extent. Even when you look at our organs of government, the 3 organs that we have, I feel there is also a fusion in who does the checks and balances and everything. So that it starts from there.
Yes.
There's no separation of power. So if this person is a member of parliament, legislature, the same person is a cabinet minister, was that the executive? Who's going to check on who? So the same person is found on the other side, the same person is, you get what I'm saying? So there's that fusion of power. So the checks and balances thing, starting from the 3 organs of government that we have, I think there's a fusion there. So even when we come to the electoral process and the institutions that are involved in this process, as we've seen recently, most institutions like the ECZ, the police, they're supposed to be impartial, non-partisan. But what's the case today?
She has raised a very, very serious and critical issue of, separation of powers, independence of these governance institutions. You know, if you have the president appointing, there's patronage there.
Exactly.
And I don't think there will be complete independence.
There's no
autonomy. Look, in the states, the president appoints the judges, but the process of impeaching a judge commences from Congress.
Yes.
You see? So I have no allegiance. That's why you find that you are appointed today, tomorrow you can pass a judgment against. Because, I mean, he has simply facilitated your being there, but you will not have any part in trying to frustrate you.
Frustrate your efforts and everything.
Start some impeachment process which will see you out. That isn't there.
No,
and this is where we should go. You know, you appoint the ECZ commission under that act. You know, then you are the one under Section 5. You are the one who will actually remove that person. Have you? I can't do then.
Like, you have so much power over one thing. So even the issue of loyalty, like patronage, as is mentioned. Like, I mean, the hand that feeds you. Who can bite the hand that feeds you?
That's the thing.
So you pay allegiance to the person who put you in that position.
I know, Mr. Chimembe, in your opening remarks, you alluded to the fact that you as FODEP are not happy with the way issues of political violence have been handled, especially by the Zambia Police Service. Is it because of the issue that you're just talking about, the separation of powers, where you can't bite the hand that feeds you?
That's one of it. There's a lot of interference, and it is visible.
Even with the Electoral Commission of Zambia?
Yeah, you know, and you find that the mandate is almost being usurped, you know, by outsiders. And yet, according to the Electoral Process of Act, I think 5 or somewhere there, it says that the ECZ is mandated to manage elections without outside interference. You know, but you see that there's an announcement, ECZ will do something. There's that thing, ECZ will swing into action. You know, even everybody will see that there's some control there, some interference there. You know, the police. I mean, it's not just FODEP which is dissatisfied with the performance of even the president himself. You saw that he said, can we reform?
Yes, he did.
And he gave even some ultimatum. You remember?
Sanctions, yes,
I don't think much has happened in terms of reforming.
Has the 6 months elapsed?
It did. Yeah, it did.
2 months ago.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, but then have we seen?
No.
And the president actually has underscored the deficiency of the Zambia police by bringing in the armed forces. Have you seen? To reinforce.
We see a case where the police are supposed to promote peace and security of the country. But in the past, we've now seen in the police, when there's political violence, the police are there, they're watching. What's happening? Like some of the reports that have been coming in, especially this week, from the opposition side, we've seen how the UPND people have been blocked to do certain things when the other parties have been allowed. I think there's no, fairness with regards to that. I don't know what Mr. Chimembe
No, you are terra firma. You are on point. And it brings in the issue of how free and fair
the elections are. How credible are they? Yeah.
Because these are, as she said, deeming or declaring an election to have been free and fair is not on the poll day.
Poll day, yeah.
It's a cycle. It starts with these things.
Before, during, and after.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I know we've dwelled more on the issues of political violence, but maybe let's drive the agenda a little bit more forward concerning peace. What can we do moving forward to uphold the peace that we have always known Zambia to have?
It's at two levels. There is a long term and short term. The short term is, in these 6 days, what can we do? One of the solutions has been, let's deploy the army, and also let's continue sensitizing. Let's talk about this, But then the long term, we'll be investing heavily in peace building efforts. Okay, yes. Peace building, so that we have these structures that we can put in place, where we can, build capacity in people, and also have some early warning mechanism, to see that peace prevails. But also, let's work on the economy, because and also the distribution of the natural resources that we have. Most of these conflicts that dot the world, is as a result of inequity in the distribution of resources. People feel that, look, in our area there's no development, and they can uprise, So we need to work out some mechanism where we should have equity in the distribution of our wealth, and also people should feel part of the nation. There should be nationhood, and everybody should wake up and be proud, like we sing in the national anthem, that I should be proud and free. Not you wake up and then you find some people intimidating you. That can't work. But also dialogue, isn't it?
Yeah, true.
Dialogue should be there. And that's one of the things that we're proposing, that report I spoke about on the voting patterns.
Yes.
And it's been there that we sustain dialogue amongst the political parties, so that if there's something, then they'll sort it out. But also strengthening those conflict management committees, which have been set up by the Electoral Commission of Zambia, with participation from all stakeholders. Yeah.
You've brought out the issues of stakeholders, but maybe before we actually get into that, your contribution.
Oh yeah, okay. In addition to what Mr. Chimembe has said, I think from the youth perspective, as young people, in trying to promote peace, why can't political parties, instead of funding people to buying alcohol for the youths and everything, why can't they invest in capacity building? That's my thought as a youth. Why can't they invest in capacity building that will at least equip me with knowledge on how to maintain peace and how to go about leadership? Because we are the future of tomorrow. Why not train as we move forward into development? Why not tag along the youth as well, even in our agendas, daily agendas, and so on? So I think for me, in trying to promote peace, let's empower our youths and the women through maybe capacity building and many other things that we can do to help the youth develop and our country at large.
I think it brings in the element of our development mode that we have. Mostly we are trying to bring in the mode of relief, where we just, it's like you want to feed somebody with fish, and well, that may be okay in emergencies.
Yeah, for a short while.
For a short while. But you build capacity, invest in, develop the capacities of people, so that then they are able to have skills of how to fish, and then they will be sustainable, those are efforts that are sustainable. These things like where you go the retirees, to make them assemble at the DMMU and give relief, they are not sustainable. You know, we need to adopt economic policies, development policies that are long-lasting, that are sustainable. You know, that way we'll be able to build nationhood. Everybody will be happy, you know, with what, and also everybody will get a share of the cake, the national cake.
Actually, that's what the world at large is advocating for. When we look at the Agenda 2030, like the Sustainable Development Goals.
Exactly.
Is it Sustainable Development Goal number 16? It talks about peace and security. All these things emanate to that, all that. So if we can build capacity and empower our youths, I think we should be able to achieve that. There are so many policies and paperwork that have been put in place, but we're not implementing what we have. We have the 7th National Development Plan here in Zambia. We have the SDGs. There's Agenda 2056, all those things. So I think we have a lot of things, but let's now take action. Let's implement the things that we need to do to build the development of our country, to improve our socio-economic development.
Mr. Chimembe, you had alluded to the fact that it's important, and you also, Ms. Mwamba, said it's important that people are taught how to fish other than giving them fish.
Exactly.
But then in regards to an election, is it possible for somebody to win an election in this country without the issue of freebies, without the issue of dishing out money, giving out chitenges? Because in other developed democracies, this is not the case. But in Zambia, since we are now setting a trajectory for and following through how things have been in the past, do you think it's possible to actually, for a candidate to win an election without freebies or anything, just based solely on their party manifesto?
So before that, the fish concept, you also you build their capacity to fish, but you also give them the rights, you know, to be able to access the rivers, the water, you know. So you build capacity, but you squeeze them in terms of their rights. You are not helping, you know. You see what I mean? You are not helping. But then coming to your question, we can't adopt fraud in elections. That is not the trajectory we should follow. We can't, you know. We cannot. And that's why we were saying that poverty is at play. People are taking advantage of the vulnerability of the households because of poverty, you know. And this poverty actually has been created by politicians. If you just, a politician can build or can destroy through the economy, isn't it? You know, it's a politician who comes up with policies that will bring about a sound economy, you know, where people will benefit. Like we've seen in the West and even in some of the countries in the East, you know. But it's also the same politician who can be reckless, you know, and bring down the economy of a nation, you know. So for us, we do not ascribe to politics of the belly, politics of dishing out. What we need is to lay down our manifesto. These are our policies. In the education, in the social sectors, these are the ones. In the other sectors, these are the policies. And then people will actually look at those policies. I think I tuned in to those debates. Look, we have brilliant brains.
Exactly.
You know? Brilliant. What was coming out of that? And that's why there's need for coexistence within the political sphere, where there should be exchange of, it doesn't mean, look, there was Peter Sinkamba, the cannabis man. Have you seen? And he articulated the cannabis and how it can be beneficial to the country. And this government actually has adopted that policy, you know, and they are going to implement. This is how it's supposed to be. You can't start waiting. Suppose you don't become president. Where? You don't become president. So what happens? You just die with your ideas. No, you have to articulate your ideas. Then people will even say that this one has the ideas. I think this is the one that we will have to vote for. If the party which is in government adopts your idea, you should be able to feel good. You know, you can't hold on to your ideas until you become president. Then you are killing the nation. You know, yeah.
I know we are in the dying minutes of the program, but perhaps we may just cruise through the other questions that I have for you.
Can we just say that these dishing out, they are against the code of conduct?
Yes.
You know, they are illegal and they are malpractices, and there's a penalty for that. Actually, upon conviction, somebody can even go in for 2 years. That's how it is. You know, that's how you see. You know, these things we seem to be playing around with, but they may even follow us. People could have, you know, shields, like immunities, but we have seen Jacob Zuma. The law is following. So certain things can follow other people. We have been thinking, you know, that there's need to consult stakeholders to see how we can test the law on the traditional leaders and how they have become so open partisan against Article, I think 167 of our Constitution. You know, they are not supposed to. Even the Electoral Code forbids them from...
Perhaps for someone that might not know what it says, maybe we can just go to it.
Yes, yeah. It says that it's Article 167, that a chief, and we read in... I think it's Article 168, Clause 2. A chief who seeks to hold office in a political party, or election, or appointment of a state office, except that of councillor, you know, because the chiefs can be part of the council, shall abdicate the chief's throne. You don't have to leave your throne to your brother, and then you go to become a political, you know, functionary. No. And in the Electoral Code of Conduct, it's very clear that a traditional leader shall not put undue influence on the subject by, you know, endorsing a particular party or candidate. I think these are issues that we need to discuss to see how we can litigate. We take some of these chiefs, because the footage is there, so the evidence is there. Even yesterday there was some chief who was open saying that, no, this one is the one, this one. What about the people?
Is it because people don't know that such laws exist?
No,
is it an issue of ignorance?
It's impunity. It's impunity, and it's coming from somewhere. Look, there are some people who are condemning Pastor Joey Makando for that sermon. But you find the same people cannot condemn chiefs. What is the difference? I think even Joey Makando did not endorse. Of course, maybe certain people, that's the perception they have taken. But then there are those traditional leaders against the provisions of the Constitution and also the provisions of the Code of Conduct, who come out on the pedestal, on the platform, and say, this is the one who is anointed. But you find that these elements do not even condemn such traditional leaders. That's the hypocrisy. Have you seen? That's hypocrisy. Here, it's okay because you support this candidate. There, because you thought that they were speaking against, you condemn. We shouldn't do that. I think we should be above board, you know? Yeah.
And ensuring that we hold free and fair elections, as you have continued to allude to, that the credibility of an election starts prior and after the actual election. Issues to do with voter education. Are you as institutions conducting voter education, and what is the mood, what is the atmosphere? Because I know you have opportunities to reach more people.
Yeah, Section 80 of the Electoral Process Act compels the ECZ or gives the powers to the ECZ to carry out voter education. But that doesn't mean that institutions like JCTR, FODEP and the others cannot
Feedback.
participate, we can. What I have seen is we are under very unique circumstances where money is just trickling, and trickling just now. You see? The other day, I think I was talking about your people came to our office and we were showing them what we have received from ECZ.
Yes.
The materials, the voter materials and all that. And we were saying we are very disappointed that these materials were done in Dubai, you know? Because if we had engaged, for instance, the government printers and some local printers, I mean, they could have distributed, you know, those flyers and those other materials, you know. But now we have just, you are saying 6 days. We've started giving out, but it's not effective, you know. We need a sustained process, you know. And we actually see that we may have a lot of spoiled ballot papers because there hasn't been enough sensitization, especially the first time voters. You know, this time the ECZ says there's nothing like ticking, or if you have to, it's just a cross inside the box. Have you seen? Some people who have a tendency of saying that, me, I want to vote so that it should show. So I cross that box
outside, even the lines.
When counting, those will be considered as sport ballot papers. And you say that, oh yeah, me, I want to mark on the head. So you circle the head of your, the portrait of your, that one is this sport. Have you seen? For me, we are predicting that we may have a high turnout, that sort of thing. Yeah.
I think on the voter education, I think with the advent of the coronavirus, to some extent, it has really impacted the entire process, I think. Because it's hard, people can gather.
Yeah.
So what most civil societies have done today is, you know, where they conduct at least one-on-one with a few individuals, then you try to create more like a chain. If I educate you on I do voter education with you, Liseli, then Liseli, you tell your friend, you tell your family, like just creating a chain so that everyone is aware of what should go on and how they should vote.
Yes.
So just that process and the use of social media. I think these are some of the platforms the civil societies are using today. So like with the advent of COVID, of course, I think we've now been exposed to, or actually tend to be more tech savvy in trying to use social media and different technologies actually to disseminate information. So I think that's what has helped most civil societies. We are still trying to impact, we're still doing the voter education, even now, on one-on-one occasions and just like that.
And she has raised a very critical issue here, or pertinent issue. The COVID has impacted, one, the funding itself. Have you seen? The monies, the resource envelope has dwindled because donors have said, we have allocated our funds to the fight against COVID. We have to develop vaccines and all that.
Exactly.
But on the other hand, it's now the dynamics of carrying out voter education. Previously, you could just bring kamoto at a market and they start, you know, performing the sketches there and people would come.
Yes.
Today, the police would swing in action and they arrest kamoto. Have you seen? Together with FODEP. That's what it is. So you have to find ways. And if you have to meet groups, then you shouldn't go beyond 50. And that is costly. You know, if you have a PA system and you're at a market, you can meet 1,000 at a go and distribute the flyers. But now you are restricted, you can't do that. It becomes tricky, it becomes difficult.
I know we can go on and on because so much has happened and so much is still yet to happen till we actually get to the 12th of August general elections. But finally, what can be done to ensure participation in these general elections in terms of voting by not only women but men also, and especially the youth who make the majority of this population?
Well, the message is that, look, don't be intimidated. I think the decision to bring those men in uniform to reinforce security is the correct one at the moment. And they'll be there to ensure that I am protected. The woman is protected. The 18-year-old new voter is protected. The person with disability is protected. So let's go out and exercise our democratic right to cast a vote so that we make a decision. It will be collectively. We will be doing it individually, but in the end it will be a collective decision that, yes, those are the men and women and youth that are supposed to be, and the people with disability who are supposed to take up the role of governing the nation. So let's go. Let's not be intimidated. Let's exercise our right. And the stakeholders, let's ensure we play our roles, various roles. ECZ, the appeal is remain non-partisan. You should be a neutral referee, you know. Police, with the help of the army, maintain law and order, you know. Don't be overpowered by cadres, because in the past cadres came and the forced entry, you know. Who are the other? Traditional leaders came, and church leaders, civil society came. You remain non-partisan, you know, and observe, you know, and monitor, you know. The youths, can you go and vote?
Yeah, true.
You know? Women, can you also go and exercise your
Yeah, actually, these elections, they'll determine the leaders that we want. The Generation X will pass away. But we, the youths, the decisions that we're going to make now will affect us and our children and the future generations to come. So let's stand up and go and vote.
Thank you so much for making time to be with us on The Verdict, Mr. George Chimembe and Ms. Mwamba.
Thank you for having us.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. This has been a special edition of The Verdict, sponsored by the Jesuit Center for Theological Reflection, right here on Camnet TV, not just another channel. Be sure to like our Facebook page and also ensure that you turn up on the 12th of August to vote for your preferred candidate. I have been your host, Liseli Kanyanga Mubanga. God bless.